This is Bill Gross, the LAProbateExpert.com, and today is our Tuesday, 3 p.m. real estate investing Zoom.com call. We get together with people who want to get into investing in real estate, brand new investors, wholesalers, agents, and talk about what we need to do to both increase our income by flipping property, buying property and selling it, or building wealth, buying property and holding it for the long term and taking advantage of real estate. I'm Bill Gross. I'm a real estate broker here. I'm a real estate broker here in Los Angeles, California. And I host this call every week. And we also stream it live on YouTube and Facebook. And to our best of our ability, if you're on the call, I like it to be participative. I tell people all the time that in life, the more you participate, the more money you make. The more people you help, the more money you make in the long run. My first coach was Zig Ziglar. He said, you have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. And you can only do that by participating. So love to have you turn on your cameras. We can see where you are. No judgments. Love to have you. If you have questions, pop in anytime, ask questions. We also have a chat box here in Zoom. And then if you're watching this, we have people who watch it live on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. If you put comments in live, I'll catch them during the call, hopefully. And then if you catch them afterwards, I believe I respond to all the comments I get. Try to make this as participative as possible. So love to help you be successful in your real estate business. Hey, Nicole Romero, welcome back. Speaking of VIPs, how you doing, lady?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Bill. How are you?
The fastest skater in real estate. Glad to have you back with us. Been a while. Nicole was here when I first launched this thing 20 years ago when she was 6 years old. And I know and then she's been going through some transitions and very involved with a women realtor group. Glad to have you. Wow, great.
Thank you.
Anyhow, welcome to everybody here. Nice to see you. William Elkins, thank you for coming back. Jack Lapidus, local attorney, has done good work for me and my clients. Nice to see you again. Sean Barrett, photographer out of the San Diego area. But you also come up to LA, don't you? Did you do some work for Patricia Castillo for my team? I think you did some work in...
Yeah, I did a bunch of work for Patricia. I did some, and then I got a referral to another agent, and I was in San Bernardino. I shot the place on Wednesday. I delivered the photos on Thursday.
Wow.
Friday, he had 32 appointments and 5 offers, sight unseen.
Nice.
By Sunday night, he had 72 tours and over 30 offers.
Nice. So Sean does a good job. Patricia, I don't know if you know this, newer agent with us, and I think she got a third deal in escrow. She's just killing it, and a part of our team at EXP and part of my team as well. So Sean, thanks for your support and help. I actually have an order for you, and I'm not sure yet. I have the appointment for next week, so we'll have to work that out. So good. Hey, I have on a call, Dave Weineman, nice to see you as always, and thank you for joining us and the rest of you as well. So I'm really fortunate to have on the call a guy who's become a good friend. Known him, this call kind of grew out of a real estate investment group I used to go to every Wednesday in Van Nuys at the Sizzler, or as our coach said, the Sizzler. And I used to go there and meet people there live. I met Dave Weineman there as well. And one of the guys I met was Gary Payro, who was literally a rocket scientist, I guess. And also a real estate investor. And he really has some unique tools to offer wholesalers, investors, and sellers of property on how to perhaps get some sales on the margin by using kind of some common sense, yet not use commonly strategies. So I asked him to come on and explain one of them today for us. So Gary, or AKA Professor Cashflow, welcome to our call today.
Thank you, Bill. It's nice to be here.
So share with us a little bit. We talked about notes and we talked about one particular product that you can offer. Share with me, sometimes, we talk to sellers and they want a price that might seem unreasonable in that maybe it's worth $400,000 retail and we're trying to buy it, let's say on a fix and flip at 300 and they're holding to a retail price, but the property is not in retail condition. So share with us a tool we talked about that will help the seller get the price they want or the wholesaler give them the price they want, yet makes sense economically.
Well, thank you, Bill. Now, this is a strategy that works all over the place. It is the main thing behind it is that either a seller will want more for their property than the market is willing to pay, and you find those all the time through expired listings or just listings that have been on there for a while. Now, we all know that this is a very hot market, but you can still find listings that have not been sold. And sometimes it's because there's some critical error, with the property, but usually it's just because the seller's expectations are out of whack with the market. And in that case, now it's funny, I just got a deal in Pittsburgh, of all places, from a lady who was trying to sell her house for about $49,000, and very different numbers. That's less than a tenth of what the kind of numbers you were talking about, but the concept's still the same. She wanted a certain price, and I offered her full price. I actually offered her over what her original asking price was, and I also offered her a cash price, which was about half of what the sales price was for financing. So the way I was able to do that is by the way, I'm going to be writing on a tablet. So I'm doing the Michael Jackson thing today with one glove. It's the only way I can write on my tablet without messing it all up. So if you see a one glove on me, there's a reason for it.
Gary, I see you and I think Michael Jackson moonwalk the second I see you.
All over. Isn't that the truth? Well, I did grow up in South Central. So, I grew up about 4 blocks from Crenshaw High, which is actually where the Jacksons went. So anyway, yeah. But what I did is I made her an offer with seller financing, and I gave her 3 offers. One was a cash offer, which was about half of what she was asking for. The other one was a interest-only offer, where you're not paying off any principal, and then you've got a balloon payment in 10 years. But if you've been making money every month on a property, it's okay. You don't mind paying the balloon, and a lot of times you can renegotiate it over that time. And then the third one was over a full price offer, but it was principal only. So I said, I'm going to give you this much down, and then I'm going to give you the rest over 220 equal monthly payments. And so I was able to open the door with her without upsetting her. I was the only guy she was talking to because no one else was willing to give her her price. And yet, which one did she take? Did she take the full price offer? In the end, because I made 3 different offers, she ended up picking the lowest offer because she just wanted to be done with it. So again, the seller financing opened the door to somebody who wanted a price that the market wouldn't really bear. But in the end, because I had 3 different offers, she ended up picking the one, and it's not the one I wanted. I would have been fine with any of those offers because every one allows me to make money.
So you're able to offer multiple offers and allow them to choose. Why might a seller, because at first blush, that sounds like, well, of course, getting paid over a period of time may or may not be as good to the seller. Why might that be more attractive to the seller, all things being equal?
Well, there's something happening right now. We have a new administration in office, and they're trying their best to, balance. Well, get the budget under control. I don't think they're trying to exactly balance it, but they're trying to do their part. And one of the things they're proposing is a much higher rate of capital gains tax.
Right.
So one of the things that anybody who has real estate, is holding real estate, that is thinking of selling it anytime in the next few years, like a landlord, now would be the time to sell it. And you can sell it and take your big chunk of money now and pay the taxes on it at the lower capital gains rate. But also, if you sell now with an installment sale or with seller financing, you're converting your rental income into passive note income, where you give the guy a note. You've now got a rent check coming in every day. But guess what? You don't have to manage that property. You don't have to take any calls. Even if somebody falls and hurts himself at that property, it doesn't come to you, because now you're no longer the landlord, you're the bank, and it's totally passive income. And now you're paying taxes spread out over time at the lower capital gains rate that we still have today.
So for those of you who are newer, you have to understand, you don't need to know all the details, but there's such a concept, right? That you only pay taxes as you get the money. And if you're getting it interest only, you're only getting interest income. but your principal, you're not receiving it until you get paid the principal or as you receive it. And so what you're doing is deferring the taxes to a later date. And there are some people who maybe have sold other property this year and don't want all the taxes right now, or they're worried about raising tax rates. So it's important that you don't give the tax advice, but that you explain there's such a concept and encourage them either talk to their accountant, CPA, or bring Gary in who can explain this in more detail, right? So Gary, if I was an investor, wholesaler, bird dogger, or an agent, I came across a seller who was open to selling a property on terms like this, what's the process to get you involved and get some help? How would they get a hold of you?
Well, basically, just connect with me and find the, let me talk to them. I mean, you could have me coach you, but it's really much easier to just say, this is my associate, you've built up some trust, and I could just ride in on that rapport and that trust building that you've already done, and I could show them how it's an advantage for them as well. So just as we talked about, a landlord, if a buyer is selling, not only does he get his price, but he locks in a much lower tax bill, and that can be a big benefit.
So phone number for you, I have, should I give you a phone number? You want to give it a number?
Absolutely.
I have 818-324-8230. Is that the best number for you?
Yep, that's my cell phone.
And
So you can send me a text message. Also, Passive Monthly Profits is my website.
You want to do that again?
Okay.
818-324-8230, or just go to passivemonthlyprofits.com.
And if you go there, there's a cute picture of Gary with a bow tie on, which just going to the website to see Gary with his huge smile and a bow tie, just that's worth going to for if nothing else. So it's in the chat box as well as the website, passivemonthlyprofits.com. And those of you who are on YouTube or Facebook watching as well, it'll be in the chat box or in the comments as well. So, well, great. Look, this is a complicated topic, but it's not that complicated. This is a complicated topic that I think, however, this is a tool in your toolbox I think that you want to include. And I don't think you want to walk away from somebody who might otherwise buy a property from you or allow you to wholesale a property, make some money on it. So definitely take a look at this as an opportunity for you. If you find somebody who the price is the issue, you want to bridge the gap by offering them terms, offering them a note, if they're open to leaving the equity in and getting income. And a lot of people today want to sell a house, they're downsizing, they're going to take the money and then invest it, and they don't know where to put it. They buy Bitcoin, that's an issue. Buy gold with it, maybe. Buy stocks, that could be volatile. But one thing people know is the house they used to live in, and they know they're going to get a rate of return or an interest rate on the money, and it's secured, usually with a lower loan to value. So talk to Gary if he can help you on a deal like that. Gary, thank you very much for sharing those concepts with us. I really appreciate your help today.
Could I have 2 questions?
Yeah.
On a normal deal where the loan isn't much of a risk, what's a fair rate of interest? And second, what's the third option? You said you offered them 3 options.
Okay.
What's the third one? You can just describe it briefly. I'll understand.
Okay. The interest rate on seller financing is really negotiable. So when you're buying, you obviously want to buy it as low as possible. When you're selling, you want it to be as high as possible. I didn't even talk about when selling with seller financing, which is really kind of how we got into this thing originally a couple of weeks ago. When you're selling with seller financing, you can actually charge a premium because you're selling to what's usually a penalty box buyer. It's a worthy individual who has a down payment, but for one reason or another can't get a bank loan. Yeah. And so you're providing them a service, and so you can charge them a hefty amount of interest. And on the buyer side, it's really the challenge that you have is that everybody's heard about everybody's heard about 4% loans. So actually, no, that's not a challenge. That's a good thing. Is if you just offer them, you ask them, well, what are you getting in your bank account? Well, I'm getting less than 0.5%. Okay, so if I could give you 10 times that, would that be a good deal for you? And so that would be around 4%. And that's what the banks are trying. How about listen? We'll add a point. We'll make it 5%. So I normally offer 6% on my just boilerplate offers, and that's on an interest-only loan. So it's basically all cash, interest only 6% with a 10-year balloon, or principal only. And that's not where I say, hey, you're going to give me an interest-free loan. I just say, hey, listen, if you want this, if you need more than, if you need more than more cash up front than my interest-only loan, that's the interest only. They're making money every month, on their money. You're paying them interest, so you make a very small down payment. If they need more money than that, you say, you know what? I'll tell you what, I can pay you that, but and then I'll break up the rest of it over, and then you've already calculated what the term is to give them the right monthly payment. If you think they'd like $500 a month, you just and that turns out to be 320 months. You just say 320 months, and that'll be $500 a month every month in your pocket. You get that money, rain or shine, and you're paying at that low tax rate. So that's how I do it.
Can I ask a quick question?
Before you do, let me just summarize one, just real quick before we go on. Hold the question, William. So again, the purpose of the call for most of you who are newer is not to be able to calculate this, it's to understand their circumstances where this makes sense, and give Gary a call, and he'll help you structure a deal. Just don't walk away. If somebody has to sell a house for whatever reason, and they're open to taking monthly payments instead of all the cash at once, they don't need all the money. They want it all eventually, but they don't need it all right now. Give Gary a call and let him work on you structuring a deal.
Yeah. And Bill, that's a great point. The way I would structure that is if you sense it's going the wrong way and you're not going to get the deal, you say, your cash offer is just not going to work. You say, let me ask you something. If I could get you a full price offer and you had to take some of your money now and then some a little later, would you even be interested? Should I even bring that up?
Right.
Because I know a guy who does that. Should I even introduce you, or is that just non-working? You say, you could get me full price. Well, that's what I'm thinking. So but I don't want to bother you if that's not going to interest you. And they go, no, let's, you don't push it real hard, but you kind of do the what if I could do this, would you? And a lot of times they'll take a snap at it because nobody's offering them that, and it piques their interest, their curiosity, if no other way. And then it gets you back in the door where they're now looking at your deal from a different light. Sometimes they'll even still take the cash offer, and yet other times we work together and we structure the note deal, and then now we're in the deal together.
And so again, the key here is that there are calls like this. They're going to sell you on a weekend package and spend $500 and get certified. And I meet people who do that and never do a deal. Gary has done that. He's done the training. He's done these deals before. He's been in this business for a while. So if you get in this situation, call him. I'm not going to cost you anything, and see if you can put a deal together. Okay, William, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to cover that.
Oh, no problem. So does the seller, the owner, have the same recourse as a bank doing a seller carryback if the buyer defaults?
Absolutely.
Okay, and you structure that whole the whole note scenario. That's your purpose. You will get all the paperwork and the notary and all that stuff.
I take care of everything.
So you make it official for the seller so they can feel comfortable. Because a lot of times they'll say, well, just pay me direct, and think it's real simple. They just work a written agreement out with the buyer, and it's fine. It's like, I think you need something a little more sophisticated than that. So that.
Well, I've done these deals before. My team has done, tens of thousands of these deals. There are hundreds of thousands of seller finance deals done every year. It's very, very common. It's done in every state of the country, and it's something that people do it because they need flexibility. They're not.
Is the seller able to reduce 100% of the capital gains by doing this?
Well, keep in mind, anytime you take a profit, there's tax due on it that you either have to pay tax on or defer somehow.
Well, it lowers. It'll lower their capital gain.
It'll lower it.
Right, or defer it. To
Defer,
some
yeah.
date and time. And I think if you're concerned about the rate now, and again, this is ideal for people who, they're going to be in a high tax bracket the year they sell the property. But it might be a year they also make a lot of income. They might want to defer it to another year when they're in an overall lower bracket. So there's a lot of reasons why somebody might want to put it off. That's between them and their accountant. The key thing here to take away is if they're even open to it, let Gary get involved and structure it and deal
Right.
with some of those unique accounting opportunities or situations for them.
And
Because the
again, that
truth is-
simple question, if I could get you a full price offer, would you be interested,
And if deferring, think about this, when you defer taxes, that's, if you were to sell property and had to pay taxes on it, 20% or maybe 28, plus California, 14 on top of that, you're paying 34 or 42. If you can defer those taxes for 10 years and the asset appreciates, it's like, money that you don't pay in taxes is profit. If you defer it, you have a chance to let that asset, appreciate. So those are all reasons why you might look into something like this, but bring an expert in who can help you with it.
Well, Bill, thank you so much. I have another engagement, another commitment, so I'm going to take off. But yeah, again, passive monthly profits. Also, Gary Payroll. My email address is my first name dot my last name @gmail.com.
Gary Payroll, the professional cash flow. Thank you so much for
Cash
that.
Flow. All right.
So again, my goal for this was not to sell a program or sell you on Gary, just to put a tool in your toolbox as you talk to sellers, as you talk to prospects. It's one more last chance, or maybe right now you can think of somebody you talked to in the last week or two that wasn't ready to sell because the price wasn't quite there. You might call them back and say, hey, I just was in a seminar and there's a way that perhaps we can structure the deal. Do you need all the money now? If we could defer some of it and it got you some interest, is that something you'd be open to looking at? If they're open to looking at it, then you can talk to them about that deal in more detail. Okay? Good. Who here on the call? And again, as I said from the beginning, the more you participate, the more money you make, and the more help other people, the more money you make. Who here has a deal that we can look at today, or a question or problem that we can work on together? Anybody? In the chat box, raise your hand. Unmute yourself and jump in. Anybody?
Well, I'll ask a question.
So,
I live in Los Angeles. We've been doing a little bit of investing in Kansas City. The Midwest traditionally has produced a good income on rental property, but prices have gone up there just like everywhere else.
Sure.
Property I bought last September at 8 times gross. In theory, if I sell it today, it's a 10 times gross. And people that are, if any of you are looking to acquire properties and income, what does this market look like to you?
Right. Well, it's interesting. I think I mentioned this last week. I was at the Grant Cardone Real Estate Boot Camp 2 weeks ago? Last week. What's today? Tuesday? I don't know. Time's gone so fast. I can't keep track anymore. 2 weeks ago. And, one of the things he talked about, when I started in real estate, there was a rule of thumb called the 1% rule. If you could buy a property for 1%, where the rent equaled 1% of the purchase price. So if you buy a property that rented for $1,000 a month, and you could buy it for $100,000 or less, you should buy it. Well, duh. And I think that rule was very popularized. Robert Kiyosaki talked about it a lot, and other people. Back when interest rates were in the 10s and 9s. I remember when I started in real estate in 1986, and rates came below 10%. It was like the biggest thing that ever happened in life. Everybody was refinancing. Everybody was buying houses. So as interest rates come down, the return you have to get for an investment has come down, been compressed as well. We have trillions of dollars of cash in the United States and from around the world looking to invest in property right now. And as a result, what are your choices? 0.5% in the bank, stock markets that has gone up a lot, could look volatile. Bitcoin ran up, now back down a bit. And so as investors look at some of these things as more volatile, where in the past they would say, well, I would never buy a property for a cap rate below. I remember when I was in West LA, I used to work for Keller Williams West Side. And when cap rates for West Side multifamily units in Beverly Hills went below 10%. Investors were screaming, "Oh my God, I can't believe anybody would
2%.
buy a property for less than, for 9% cap rates. Are you crazy? That's ridiculous. Nobody would ever buy it." Nowadays, people buy cap rates 2%, 2.5%, 3%, right? Because they're just happy to hold on to the money and they know over time it's going to appreciate and they're glad to take it. So I think those rules have all changed. And if you think about mathematically, as Grant Cardone said, it makes sense because when interest rates come down, if your alternative is a lower rate, then you should be willing to accept a lower rate on the interest. The problem is the risks. Because when you talk about individual property, you have one tenant leave, you have a vacancy. You have one house gets damaged, one house has natural wear and tear, you run the risk of some major expenses. And so how do you offset those risks? So it gets to be a dicier proposition as you have those compressed margins. And so what Alan's talking about is, whereas in the past he could buy a property for $100,000 and rent it for $1,000. Now he can buy a property that rents for $1,000, but it's going to cost him $140, $150 or more. And the numbers that made sense don't make sense today. That's the market we're in, and that's the market everywhere. The numbers that made sense a year ago, 2 years ago, just don't exist today. That's gone on nonstop for the last 10 years. Anybody else have thoughts on that?
I just had a quick question. It's kind of probate related, but I'm working on a prospect, and I've been sending more all probate related regarding the property and just everything real estate related. And I'm thinking I need to mix it up a little bit because I talked to her today, finally took the call, and she's just like not picking up anymore. And she's like, well, give me 2 weeks. I was trying to get her to commit today. So I'm wondering, what are some good probate gifts that I can, that we can, give to our clients to follow up with instead of the listing packages and the just sold, either probate expert. I know it's probate related and this is the, investment call, but it's fresh. So it's happened today.
Well, so on this call, we have real estate agents, of which you're one, and I'm one, and Alan's one. We have real estate wholesalers and investors. And I think the thing that when I talk to professionals, they'll tell me that the time length to the time they talk to somebody before something happens is much longer than you would imagine. What
Yes,
I call
it
the
is.
long tail, right? In real estate sales, the average time from when a lead starts the marketplace to actually buys or sells a house is over 2 years. And I think investors miss that boat because they'll talk to somebody who's thinking of selling and they're not ready to do anything yet. But then they'll sell a year and a half later, and you've wasted your time and effort and energy of developing the relationship because they would stay in touch with, if you'd stay in touch with them a year and a half later, they might have sold the house to you at a good price, but instead somebody else came along and took the deal home. And so I think it's really important that everybody have a strategy. The best investors I talk to also have a strategy for staying in touch with their leads. And I would say today, everybody should have an email database of everybody they meet and email them something regarding real estate every week, and should be posting something of value on their social media. I do this program. I do 2 programs like this weekly, and I also post an interview, and I also post a content piece every week. It's a lot of work, but I stay in touch with a lot of people that way. And I may have told a story previously, but just real quick. When I was in Florida 2 weeks ago, I was at a beautiful resort hotel. I walk out the front door, and I bump into a guy that I knew in religious school when I was in grade school and high school, and we went to college together. And then after college, we both worked in real estate, and I did some business with him. And then he moved on to become a bank president. And we've kind of lost touch. I call him from time to time. But I saw him at this hotel. I said, "Hey, Leon, how you doing?" He said, "Hi, fine." And he says to me, "I see you all over social media." Now, am I really all over social media? No. But because we're friends on LinkedIn and we're friends on Facebook or whatever, of all the people he sees, I get played more often. And so to answer your question, we might say, I'm not sure exactly what to do, but I would say whatever you're doing, to use Grant Cardone's number, do 10 times more. Email, social media, video, phone calling, whatever it is, stay in touch with people more. They're just not ready yet. People don't move as fast as we do in real estate. We're in this every day, and we're in the decision-making business like that. but many people aren't. And so they need more time. But if during that time, they see more of you, they get to know you better, they get to like you better, they get to trust you more, more comfortable with you, they're more likely to do business with you down the road.
Sure.
So I would say just you got to find a way to stay in touch. And the number one tool is a database program with email. Like we have a CRM in our company, everybody gets it. And I tell all the agents, you got to send something out every week. Then the next stage is to add a video to that piece so that you're seeing with video as well as the audio. So, but that's really important, I think. Send something every week to everybody. And so the answer that I would say, there are a lot of companies that sell these very specific little campaigns for each type of lead, and they're all very sophisticated and tricky. I just say just send everybody something once a week. You can always customize it after that. But if you can't do that, you can't get started. Start with one email piece to everybody you know in your database every single week. Start with that.
Right. Yeah. I was just thinking more like on the personal level, if there's any, like so-called probate gifts that, in general, you can kind of give to petitioners to kind of, establish that personal rapport.
No, I mean, I've seen people do all kinds of different things, pens and journals and books and book on administration of probate. I know people who write books. You can have somebody ghost write a book for you on probate, send that to them. There's a million ways to go there. I've never done that, so I can't speak to his effectiveness. But it seemed to me you could send somebody a book on probate would be kind of like a way. And if it's a book of somebody you know, like I, one of my coaches is Kevin Sales. If I give him out his book, he sent me a couple of them. I bought one. They sent me two more, and I give them out as gifts because I think it's a great book and I think he does a really good job. So maybe that's something you might consider giving out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure. Good. Other questions, comments, problems? We got a real estate problem we can work on today.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, what's
This
up?
is Angie.
Angie,
Okay.
what's up?
Hey, I'm doing good. My grandmother is a property owner and manager in Santa Maria. She's currently looking for refinancing on a property. Her last one was she received a couple years ago by Wells Fargo, her bank, and it was about 3% interest rate. She's looking to obtain about $150K for this next loan, and maybe something similar to that same interest rate or around there. And I was just wondering if you had any information on that today that I can possibly assist her with.
Sure.
Thank you.
So as a former lender, the first thing I would always say is start with the lender you have now, because they can cut some corners sometimes, not always, but Wells Fargo, for example, there are times that they'll rewrite their own loans more cheaply for the customer more easily to get it done. So I know sometimes people tend to avoid the same lender thinking, I don't upset them or think I'm paying them off. They don't care. They sold the loan. They don't own it. They just process it. So I would say first start with Wells Fargo. And then does she need somebody to meet with her, or is she able to do it online?
Yeah, it can be someone to meet or online as well. Anyone, but
Okay. Well, I know that on our call is Nicole Romero, and she's in Northern California, from Northern California. And she might be have somebody that she can connect you with if they need to meet with somebody in person. And so if you guys want to chat with each other and exchange contact info, might be another one, Nicole, N-I-C-O-L-E. You see her on the call.
yes, I saw that. Thank you so
I'll
much.
put my number on there. I know I have people, contacts all over. I'm happy to help.
She is a Rolodex.
Thank you
she
so
looks like a
much.
human being, but she's really a Rolodex on skates. She just goes through life connecting people. And then, but again, and also, Angie, I would recommend have her check with Wells Fargo because they already have a lot of the information and might be able to cut. Sometimes sometimes they're easier to work with, sometimes harder, but I would always start with them.
Appreciate you so much. Thank you, guys.
Sure, glad to help. My pleasure. Okay, who else has a question, comment, or ideally a problem?
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
Bill, this is Jack. I have a little advice for you people, and you're going to find this ironic. You know what kind of law I practice. Last week, I got a notification that there was someone by my pool. I have a Ring camera. I turned on the camera to see the neighbor behind me and one over that I share about 15 foot of fence with, cutting down our joint hedge. It's a developer. And he cut down our joint hedge to about 4 feet where the cinder block wall is. That is a great recipe. That is a
Hey,
great
Shelley.
recipe for ending up in litigation. I handle cases like that. And I went over to talk to him, and you wouldn't believe it. His property shares property line with 4 neighbors. He talked to all 3 of the other neighbors, and for whatever reason didn't talk to me before he started cutting down our hedge. That's another recipe for getting sued and ending up in litigation.
Yep.
Now, that's great business for me, but it's not a way to be a good neighbor. So, you have a lot of people on here who buy and sell property and fix things up. And so if you're going to start touching fences and hedges, go talk to all the neighbors. Go talk to them, because it's not one of these things where it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission, because sometimes the forgiveness doesn't come and you end up getting sued.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually had a little bit of an issue with that myself. I had a case where my neighbor's tree, the branches were over my house by 20, 30 feet. And it was causing some problems. And we went to cut them. And one of the things I've learned is always make the extra phone call. It's just easier to make a phone call in advance and then decide what to do. So definitely very nice. Aaron, I see that you made a comment that you're a lender and that you can perhaps help Angie as well. So go ahead and in the chat box, if you want to put your information and or chat with her directly, that'd be fantastic. Neves Vigil, I see your hand up. How can I help you?
Yeah, my name is Nieves.
Nieves.
Yeah, Nieves. And I've been a real estate agent for 22 years here in the Inland Empire.
Nice.
And every day I still feel new, because every day there's something new happening. Okay.
Nice.
And I saw you on the internet, and I said, you know what? I've been interested in probates for a long time, because I've worked with a lot of them, but usually the lawyer's guiding me, right? And I just do whatever they tell me to do, and then whatever. But right now I have one. From what I understand, it's done already, even though we can close it, but the seller's not going to get paid for a while. But
Correct.
it's going to close. Now, there's tenants in it, and the seller gave the tenants an option to buy before anyone sees the property or anything. Well, they don't qualify, not even with another relative on there with them. I exhausted that, and I called them and I told them, okay, I'm coming over tomorrow to do the avid. I put the post up, the sign's going up tomorrow. I gave them a 60-day notice plus the 120-day notice that they're going to sell it. Is there anything else that I have to do, because they don't qualify? So is there anything else that I have to do other than what I've already done?
Is there anything else you have to do?
To get the tenants out? It's sold already. I haven't even put it out there. It's already sold.
Well, that's the problem. Don't say that. If you already sold it, you're not
No.
giving them a chance to.
No,
to
I'm
bid on it.
not even, I mean, there's a line of people, and I haven't even put it out there yet.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, you're not really under any obligation. Now, assuming that the property is sold and the tenant is not the buyer, how are you gonna get the tenant out?
I've
What's your-
given them a notice, and they said they're gonna come, they're gonna move out, and I believe that they will, even though it's hard. Right now, they have relatives where they can move or whatever, but
So they're okay with that. They're wow. And what city is this in?
San Bernardino.
Wow, because in LA, you probably can't get them out with dynamite.
Wow. Okay.
And of course, dynamite would be illegal. And Jack Lapidus was probably going to jump in and tell me that's not an option. I know it's not an option. But my point is, my regular experience, every day I'm talking to somebody who wants to sell a property but can't because there's a tenant in there that won't consider any solution, anything close to fair as far as a settlement, and even people behind not paying rent. So Chuck says his seller's giving cash for keys. Well, that's great, but sometimes cash for keys, how much cash are you going to give them, and how do you do it? So there was a time cash for keys was 10,000, 20,000, maybe give them as much as the city required, maybe a little bit more. I've seen people, but the reality is a property with a seller out, with a tenant out, can be worth more by $200,000. And once the tenant knows that, they want $200,000. And how do you give somebody $200,000 who's still in the property? You can't just hand them a check and hope they move out. And they're not going to move out unless they're confident they're going to get paid. So it's not so simple. And I'm not saying it can't be done. I do it all the time. But I'm just saying it's a challenge in Los Angeles. But if in San Bernardino, you can give them notice and get them out, sounds like you covered your bases. You're in good shape.
Okay.
I mean, I deal with cases where one of the tenants is an heir or squatting, basically. And that's challenging. And even
We have a lot of that over here. Oof.
Yeah. In San Bernardino especially.
Okay, my other question is this, okay, with the market, the way you see everything, okay, with the everything that's going on. I don't know if this is true. I just sold a property in Fontana, and I want your opinion on this or your thought on this, okay? I asked a broker from San Francisco is the one that bought the property here in Fontana, okay, his client. And I said, you know what, I don't even understand what's going on with the market. And he said, no, I understand. And I said, well, what can you tell me? And he said, 47% of the properties in San Francisco were empty. He said, what happened, he said, is because of the COVID, that these big companies have seen that they don't need this overhead. So they've downsized and sent their people out of these really expensive areas, 1.2 for a studio in San Francisco. These people have come out into the suburbs and rural areas, bought half of whatever, I mean, just made a killing, still have their jobs, they're working from home, and that has brought all the property values up. Does that sound right?
Yeah. That's what's happening.
Okay.
And I think, when you live in Los Angeles like I do, I used to live in Boca Raton. I grew up here in LA, and I moved to Florida when I was a young man, and I met my wife there and got married there, but we came back here for family reasons. But I've always wanted to move back. Now my wife and I are still arguing over that, so it's not happening yet. But when you look at what a house sells for here, for $1.9 million for our house, which is just, it's a nice area, but we're block and a half from Pico Boulevard, and we go to bed at night hearing helicopters and fireworks and sirens every night. It's not that nice. I'm not living in the Palisades. I'm not living in Beverly Hills. But you could buy a beautiful home, twice as big, twice as nice in Boca Raton, Florida, for half the money, or in other cities for half the money. So that's what's happening. And then in then more rural areas for a quarter of the money. And so, I was looking at houses in Boca Raton that sold for last year 400 and this year 500. Man, that's $100,000 more. Our house went up by $200,000-$300,000 that time. So it's like playing with monopoly money. It's not real money.
25% more though.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just saying that it's really, it's almost like playing with the monopoly money, because it's not really costing me anything. So, and if you determine to get out, then then you don't care, you're moving out. So that's the effect of the real estate. There's two factors. That's one, people moving from high cost areas to lower cost areas, transforming the lower cost areas. And two, the low interest rates make the same payment worth more money. And so if what you could have borrowed for 2 years ago, the payment of $1 million, today, for the same payment, you get $1.2 million. Well, now you have an extra $200,000. Your house went up by $300,000. It's like monopoly money, and you won't pay taxes on it. So you roll it over to the next house to avoid paying taxes. It's really unprecedented opportunity in real estate for those of us who are in that business or in that game, one with the other.
And what's interesting is I've already done 2 short sales this year. Is that crazy?
That's
crazy.
I think it's crazy, but at the same time, there are people who are being left behind. There's areas that are tough and not doing well that people aren't moving into. People aren't moving into some of the poor areas. They're being left behind. Yeah, it's sad. Very sad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nevis. Nice meeting you.
And you're on twice a week?
Yeah, I do this call on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock, and then on Thursdays at 4 o'clock, I do a probate phone call.
Okay.
Good. Hope to get a chance to meet up with you sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Anders shared some information. Great. Chuck, thank you about cash for keys. So you're right. They're definitely one of the options is you have a tenant who's a problem, you offer them cash. And again, how do you do that? How much cash you give them up front? How much cash do you give them when they move out? All that's negotiable. But it's funny. I had one cash for keys where the tenant, he didn't trust me, and it's like, oh, I'm not the one who's late on his rent payments. We're offering you a lot of money to move out of your house, but those can be tricky, difficult situations. So, okay, hey, I think we're at the time spot here. So, anybody who has questions, comments, put them in the chat. If you signed up on Eventbrite, we emailed us out with a link to the YouTube. I'd love to have you participate in that. If you're on Facebook or YouTube watching this, put the comments in the chat and we'll respond to them. I want to thank everybody who participated today and make it a great call. Nevis, thank you for your comments. And Jack Lapidus, attorney in the San Fernando Valley, thank you as always for your comments and help. And Alan Gordon, some good questions. I appreciate it. Dave Weinerman, nice seeing you. Nicole, nice seeing you. Sean, as always. William, somewhere I think your camera got turned off. There you go, William Elkins. And all of you who are on the call, thank you for participating. My goal here is to help all of us do better by making more income and building more wealth. And I'm committed to helping you. I'm not selling anything. I don't have any coaching program. Maybe I will next year. I'm not selling any data. What I'm selling is you on the opportunity to work hard, make more money, and create more wealth for you and your family. And I'm committed to helping make that happen. So if I can help you, Tuesdays, 3 o'clock, or Thursdays at 4 o'clock, join with us. Bill Gross, the LAProbate expert.com. Everybody, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today.